This morning at breakfast, one of you came up to me and said, I have some things to say to you. Would you like me to be direct or indirect? I mean, how do you answer that? What are you going to say? Beat around the bush for a bit and then tell me, just said some things directly to me. And you always think it's going to be a negative thing when someone says that, but it was actually very, very kind. But that phrase is in my mind because this is what bothered me about church for so much of my life. A lot of times I would sit in the pews or whatever and go, what is that guy trying to say? Why doesn't he just say it? Why is he beating around the bush? Why is he saying this? And so those words are just kind of ringing in my head of this morning, just being very direct with you. Of what I see in Scripture, what is very obvious to me. And there's part of me that's, I got to be careful because I'm fitting into someone else's program, this or that. But honestly, I don't know how else to teach. This is just, it's who I am. I just say it, and it's almost like I want one of those preface things that says, this speaker's views do not reflect the views of just so you know, this is just Francis talking, saying what I believe I have to say before God, because I'm looking at you in the eyes and going, okay, if this is my last message, like yesterday I was speaking somewhere else, and the thought occurred, okay, I got this countdown clock, 13, 31, 30, 29, 28, so I got 13 and a half minutes, and what if that was really the countdown of my life, and God says, this is it, what would you say to these people? Just get up there and say what you would say to these people. And taking the context of that, I want to do that because I'm going to stand before God. And I think we all grossly underestimate what that moment's going to be like. That we've heard the word God so many times and heard the name Jesus so many times that it just becomes Jesus this, God that, rather than this reverence they used to have where they wouldn't even say that word. They would just say Hashem, the name. You know who I'm talking about. Him. Because it's just this sheer understanding of his holiness that I'm going to face any moment, any second. I might not even make it through the 12 minutes and 35 seconds. I'm going to stand before him, and that's. Am I going to care what any of you thought at that moment? Am I going to care at all what you thought of me and what you're saying about me at that point? It's me and God. It's just us, and this whole issue of even leadership and helping people lead, it starts from us really being the men and women of God who understand our life and perspective and go, you know what, let me live that way. Let me live a life that makes sense. In my lifetime, okay, I understand some of you are older than me, wiser than me, older than me, and I want to be respectful, but okay, I love the scriptures, and I read those. I love it. It cleanses my mind of everything and all the lies I hear. I get back to this. I get alone with this book, and I go, okay, God, I know that's truth, and I'm going to run with it. I don't care what anyone says to me. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to preach it, and I'm going to say it. I don't care if everyone hates me afterwards. I'm just going to lay it out. And I understand I need to respect those who are older. At the same time, I read this book, and I must say, I have met very few older people whose lives make sense to me in light of this book. I've met very few people who have made a lot of money whose actions really made sense to me. And I go, do you really believe this? It got to the point where I even prayed to God. This is about 7 or 8 years ago. I remember just getting before God. I go, God, I don't understand people and their wealth and how we've come up with this whole theology of why we can spend 90% on ourselves. Like, how does that even make sense? Like, why would you want to do that if you really believe that there's an eternity, a forever? And I would look at elderly people still collecting stuff, and I'm like, What are you doing? Why, wouldn't you be getting more and more ready for that moment you're about to see God? Do you understand? Don't you want to just let go of everything and give it all? I mean, that's just my mindset. I just remember saying, God, I don't get it. God, would you raise up a new generation of rich people? Raise up some young people that really have a heart for you, that even if they got rich, they wouldn't act like they were rich. They wouldn't live like they were rich. They're already rich in you. I mean, I talk to God. What more do I want? And then just to go, God, would there be people who say, this is just stuff, I don't care. If that guy's starving, why would I buy all this stuff for me? Like, that's the way I think. I'm going, God, you know what? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of all these people spending millions of dollars on themselves and giving 10% and putting their plaque on a wall and this or that. I go, I don't get how in the world you would get this from here. If you have faith in this stuff, if you have faith in eternity forever, your life is going to last a few more seconds. And then boom, you're going to stand before God and you think, I'm going to go buy stuff. I go, I just don't get that mindset, God. Would you raise up a new group of people who would just live normally? Live normally. I'm not saying that you're just barely eating, but none of us are going to starve to death here. So let's get real. And we make these statements in church like, oh, well, I don't want my kids to starve. You really are afraid of that. No, you're concerned about your standard of living more than you are about others living. That's the issue. And I said, God, just raise up. And then at the end of my prayer, I just said, God, or make me rich. I'll give it away. I don't care. I just want to show the world that it's just stuff. And it was just like this crazy thing. But then the next year, I made $1 million. I go, wow, you really answered that. And I started making like about $1 million a year. Oh God, this is dumb now. This is crazy. I remember people used to say, oh, Francis, you can't just go give. What are your kids going to do? They'll never get to college. I go, they'll figure it out. He's going, they're Asian. They'll get scholarship. They'll, but it was just, God's going to provide. God's gonna make it happen somehow, and to see it line up. Because I say this, not go, oh wow, look at Fred. I'm going, man. In 1 Timothy 6, I think it's verse 19. He talks about this command to the rich, but at the end of it, he says, I do this because I want them to take hold of the life that is truly life. To take hold of the life that is truly life. And I'm just saying, gosh, it's more like I'm not like trying to make anyone feel guilty. I'm just going, you're missing out. You're missing out on the life that is truly life. That's why he says he commands the rich, to be rich in good deeds. He says, because I want them to take hold of the life that's truly life. Let me just read it. As for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty or to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. They're to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life. Man, I say this, and last night my wife came and, singing, and I talked about our 20-year anniversary trip, and that's not to go, oh, look what we did. Aren't we great? We didn't go to Hawaii, we went to Ethiopia. I'm going, no, it would have been dumb to do something else. We wanted life that was truly life. I mean, we come back and like, man, we walked around the red light district in this area where literally thousands of women are in these sheds that are no bigger than a bed, hardly. And they just stand in the doorway waiting for these guys to come. And they have to sleep with at least 5 guys a night for $1 each so they can pay their rent and feed their kids. And most of them are in slavery doing this. And they're putting their kids under their mattress, under their bed while their clients are coming in. And I'm just looking at these women. And then we invite them to have a little meal with us the next day. And over 700 of these prostitutes show up. and just treating them like women for one day, and then having some of the gals that have come through and been ministered to and now have changed their lives and fall in love with Jesus, getting up there and sharing their testimonies. And now I'm figuring out a way to build a village out there so that I can get these women out of that area, live here. I'll teach you how to farm. We'll do something. We'll have a place for your kids. But man, what I saw, though, one of my friends that has been going there for a while, there are pictures of him. He started this ministry, helped these girls, got them jobs, educated them, and then there's pictures of him walking these girls up the aisle on their wedding day. And I saw that. I go, man, I am so jealous. Can you imagine taking a girl out of that type of hell, getting her back on her feet, and then having the honor? Men, think about this. Think about this. Having the honor of her looking at you and saying, will you act as my father on my wedding day? Will you give me away to this man? And there's like 5 or 6 pictures of him doing this at different times. And I'm looking at these going, God, that is the coolest thing I could do on this earth. I cannot think of anything I would write. See, that makes a Ferrari look so boring. That makes a large house look so boring. That's what Paul's saying. This is life. Man, we're not saying, oh, you guys, feel guilty for everything you have. I'm going, man, you're missing out. We're missing out on this adventure that Dave and I have been on. Man, I was even thinking back there, I remember, 7, 8 years ago, I remember, I don't even know where we were, what country, but we're in a bus somewhere, and I just shared some things with you, and I go, gosh, Dave, this is weird, but I'm writing this book, and I don't even know if I had told my wife at this point. I go, I feel like I've heard God say to me, and I want to be careful with that because I don't feel like he'd ever spoken to me, and I didn't want to getting out, so I didn't tell anyone, that I felt like God spoke. I went to Masters. You couldn't do that. You get suspended. And so so I'm like, man, I feel like God's telling me that this might go somewhere, and that I'm going to have a voice in America. And that was so weird to say. I'm this stupid pastor in Simi Valley that just made a mess of his life and everything else, in so many ways don't deserve anything. And yet at that moment, it's like, I think God's saying that I'm going to have a voice, I'm going to have a platform, and that's going to mean more for CHF. And I remember, Dave telling me, gosh, I've been thinking about this food pack program. I remember when you first came up with it, and you're thinking, I'm thinking about doing this. We look back now and these things that are just second nature to us, but back then, this adventure, this life we've been on. And my concern is that, man, so many of you are like, safety first. Let me make sure I'm taken care of. My whole future is provided. Then I'll start giving this or that. And I'm going, go ahead, do that. We've got freedom in Christ. Do it. I'm just going, my concern is you're going to miss out on the life that's truly life. When you live by faith and just go, forget it, I'm just going to cash out. I'm going to bet it all on heaven. And so if there's no heaven, I'm going to look like the biggest fool on earth. If there's no life after death, if there's no resurrection from the dead, then I'm above all men most to be pitied. I'm saying you start living like that, and you're going to experience life. In the life to come, for sure. There's a security in that. Like he says, you'll store up these treasures in heaven. But I'm saying it's those times when we actually lived by faith and took some risk that we experience God. And respectfully, let me say to those who are further along in life, man, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of times I see like the 18-year-olds doing crazy things in life. And then after you do a few of those things, make some mistakes, you play it safer and safer and safer and safer. And I'm going, shouldn't we be going the other direction? I mean, if we're getting closer to the moment when we're going to see God, shouldn't we just be going nuts and going, let me just give, and go crazy? And so, I mean, I know right afterwards you'll have your discussions. Well, we can't really do that because we got to be good stewards. I'm going, good stewardship doesn't mean you just spend it on yourself. Good steward is, okay, that kid's going to die this afternoon, so I should probably, as a good steward, spend a little less on me and save his life. Like, to me, that's good, but maybe my logic is skewed. I just go, man, God has given some of us gifts, extreme opportunity, and we need to steward that. And so, we came back from Africa. I go, honey, we're going to write this book. Here's how we care for the people over there. God's given us this gift to write. Let's write the best book that's ever been written and take every dime of it and give to them. Okay? And I'm saying to some of you, you're incredible businessmen. I don't know you or whatever you do. Or maybe you're singers, dancers, whatever. Do it with all of your heart. Use that gift. But that doesn't mean that you spend it on yourself. It's like, wow, God, what a rush. Like I said, maybe one day God will give me that opportunity to walk one of these girls up the aisle. And to me, I go, okay, you think I'm doing this because, Francis, he's so godly, he sacrifices. I'm going, no, I want my life to be huge. I want my life to be amazing. I want to walk all these girls up the aisle and go, man, I had a piece in that. That is life, these relationships, and experiencing God come through the way that Dave and I have seen over the years. That's life. Pastor Peter, think about when we met and where everything that's happened now, it's crazy.